when the Congress government in Delhi proposed setting up a waste-to-energy plant in the national capital. 6 years later, the plant becomes operational in Okhla. It was touted as a model waste-to-energy plant which was processing 2,000 tons of waste daily and generating 23 megawatts of power. However, the celebration was short-lived as just a week after the plant became operational, residents from nearby areas started complaining of dust accumulation on roads, cars, clothes, etc. Now, this is when the trouble started to mount. In a 5-year-long investigation by the New York Times, it reveals that the pioneering plant is exposing 1 million people to highly toxic emissions. These include significant high amount of cadmium, lead, manganese, arsenic, and also cobalt. All of these are hazardous substances and long exposure to them could be fatal. The residue ash from the plant is also dumped in the residential area, which further makes the air poisonous. As per the report, the plant continues to flout pollution rules despite multiple fines. In fact, ironically, the plant is run by Jindal Group in partnership with the Delhi Civic body and is earning carbon credits which represent emission reduction units. The Civic body has reacted saying that vested interests are behind the report. Kritika, my colleague, continues to stay with us on this story. Kritika, so after the New York Times report, there's a sharp reaction that is coming to the fore from the Civic body itself, who says that vested interests are behind this report on the waste-to-energy plant.
That's right. In fact, the MCD has responded in this tone. They have said the New York Times report is nothing but vested interests against the attempts towards green energy. But what also remains to be seen is how the MCD needs to react against the allegations of the residents who for years now, even before the inception of this plant, have been protesting the location specifically and also the mechanism of waste incineration in the first place. Now, a report by the government's own institute, the National Environmental Engineering Research Institute itself, that submitted a report to the National Green Tribunal this year itself, states how a lot of waste that's generated, most of the waste in fact that's generated in the national capital is non-segregated. And whenever non-segregated waste is burnt in these plants, it releases a higher amount of emissions and lesser quality of power as well. So it's not very efficient way of handling the waste problem in the national capital. Also, the byproducts that are left from burning of such waste, toxic ash as well as heavy metals that are released in the smoke that's generated from the plant has been a cause of concern. Residents have been raising for years now, collectively as well, by appeals in the National Green Tribunal as well as in the Supreme Court, as well as before the Delhi High Court also at some points, on how this is impacting their health, on how it's essentially declining their health, especially of those who are children and senior people. So this is what we're hearing from the localities as well. The own government's institute has released a report on how the waste that goes into that plant is non-segregated. So whether or not it's being segregated at source is something that we need to still find out from the plant owners. Now, what is also interesting is that in September, when the case was before the Supreme Court had asked the Central Pollution Control Body to submit a report on the latest analysis of the emissions, especially from the Okhla plant, in a matter of 6 weeks. While that deadline has passed, the report has still not been submitted to the Supreme Court. So we will get to see what does our own body also say. Remember, earlier in 2021, when the DPCC fined the institute, one of the fines were also because their online monitoring system emissions as well as on-ground emissions were not matching. Right.
All right, Kritika, thank you for getting us all those details. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates on the story. As of now, we're shifting focus to